I think you guys are muted.
Sorry, Kayla, I just unmuted. Okay, so you should be all set, Kayla, to speak if you like. Everyone else is on view only, please.
In my office, not really, because
Turn it that way. I understand it. All right, so we're here to look at Route 11 solar project.
Great, thank you.
You're on.
All right. As mentioned, my name is Mike Ferteski. I work for TJA Clean Energy, and we're based out of New Bedford, Massachusetts. I handle our New York project, so I'm based in Syracuse, New York. I was here a little over a year ago, like we had mentioned. We had some preliminary design on this, and we went over some of the concept plans. Since then, we've done a lot of work to the project and plans, and are excited to be back here this evening. Here with Eric Knopf from CNS, he's our consulting engineer. Now, I'm going to let Eric handle the technical details, but I can just give you a brief overview. So this is a community solar project, which I think you're familiar with, I'm sure with other applications, but essentially we're going to inject power back into the grid, and that power can be subscribed by local residences or businesses, and they can take advantage of up to a 10% discount on their electric bill. We are utilizing single axis trackers on this facility. So these are racks that move with the sun, provide some efficiencies and higher production. Being in New York, we kind of need any help we can get with the cloud cover that we experience. So these do help. One interesting note too is we're also proposing what's called bifacial modules. They're almost a transparent module. So when the sun hits, it collects. Anything that doesn't collect off the initial entrance passes through the panel, reflects off the ground, especially in winter, and it can be collected on the backside of the panels. So technology is growing pretty rapidly, and we're excited to use some of that on this project.
What was that called again?
It's called bifacial modules. Yep. We have specs and everything on equipment. I don't think we provided, but that's something that we can provide. Yes, actually, that's
That one page.
no, that's rack.
Oh, that's
That's right. Well, I can get module information, and we've actually even had updated information on the back. But anyway, the biggest reason for the delay since last year was we've been doing extensive wetland studies, which is shown in green. Now, there's different types of wetlands. These specific wetlands are under the jurisdiction of the Army Corps, and they're what we call emergent. So they're open prairie, open land, not necessarily standing water by any means, just not wooded or forested. By Army Corps regulation, we are able to drive piles and fence posting within these wetlands. We are not able to cut or fill, do any type of grading work. We can't put access roads in without it being considered a disturbance. So we do have some disturbance up here. It was unavoidable. But the reason for the delay since last year, we had to maneuver the facility around because there's a lot of areas that had steep banks. Although it's a flat site, there were some steep areas that we needed to ensure we weren't going to be grading in those wetlands. So CNS has done an exhaustive job, I would say, to go through and make sure none of these racks are going to be requiring any grading underneath, and it's somewhat flat. And then as far as where we stand procedurally, we have a final study with National Grid that's been completed, and we do have approval to move forward. There are some minor upgrades, but this was a pretty good report that we received back from National Grid. And that's it from a broad base. You want to go over some technical details?
I wasn't here prior at first year.
Sure.
What's the major difference between the original plans and this new set of plans? So I can kind of get up to.
Yeah, it's not going to look as major as it was because the facility started basically if there was a line here east of that line. We extended down in this area because the landowner has a desire to continue to farm on this area over here. This is more of his marginal land, and he said, please use as much marginal land as possible. Allow me to maintain this area for agriculture. which we're very supportive of agriculture. So him allowing us to do that was best case scenario. So the facility did move down into this region. It was, a portion of the facility was removed out of this area. The access road was realigned. Some of this area was too steep for us to put racking, so that was removed.
So which is the perimeter fence?
So the perimeter fence is this black line X. Yep. And then this is our access road, and then this is our equipment heads.
So you're gonna put a bridge in there somewhere,
Yes.
and you didn't really elaborate on it in the site plans. I'd like to see more of a schematic on that
We'll
bridge.
do a full design.
But where is the bridge
It's gonna
on
be
there?
right
How
here.
big is it going to be?
It's gonna span this stream right here.
Okay.
So the owner had a rough road that kind of just went through there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to, and it may, he's kind of done more work to make it more of a road, but we're going to return it back to an open stream and span it. So that with, basically what we're required to do by Army Corps to avoid any type of permit for that is you have to go 1.25 times the high water mark. Make sure we touch down outside of that.
Mhm.
That way we don't technically disturb any of the stream at all. So we're gonna do that work to return it back to an open stream. We'll put the bridge in there. And then what Mike is talking about, there's gonna be some unavoidable disturbance here to the wetlands as we put the road through, and whatever acreage that is, that'll be part of our US Army Corps application. The bridge will be included in that as well, so they see that and they know what we're doing there. That'll all be part of the information submitted to the Corps. We'll have our people, we have our highway bridge guys sign those timber bridges. They've done several before, so they'll do it again. We just wanted to come tonight and make sure there weren't any major changes again before we go through that effort to start putting that core package together.
Why couldn't, is that an existing roadway?
No, it was like a farm trail. I think he
So
just
you
kind of
can't,
drove
use
through
you
it,
can't
right?
use it, you
Right,
gotta,
and honestly, as a farmer, if he wanted to culvert it in stone and put it across, it'd be no problem, so whatever we ask, but with the approvals and things we're
Right,
required to
okay.
do, we can't do it that way.
so it's an existing roadway that you're.
It's,
gonna
yeah, it's
re-
like, it was his access to this side of it. It wasn't really much of a road, but it was how he got through to this field. And we're just gonna kind of try and widen it a little bit, span the stream.
So wooden bridge.
It'll be a timber bridge, yep.
Can you go over to the forest that you're going to take out?
Can I interject for just a second? I just want to remind everyone in the room that the people online will not be able to hear as well. So just speak up.
Okay.
Thank you.
The area of trees we're removing is just this little area here.
Is it about an acre?
It is. That sounds about right. Off the top of my head. I can find a little table on here.
Well, I think that's about an acre.
Yeah, we're showing 0.73 acres of what would be considered forest removal. So it's a little under an acre of trees right there.
What kind of trees are there? Remember?
Scrub brush.
Yeah.
It was all scrub brush. Nothing of value. There's no real hardwood timber in there. That was in the wetland delineation report.
And you'll see we stop when we hit the wetland line, because as Mike was saying, we don't want to be cutting trees, and things in the wetland over here, where it's more wooded area. So like Mike said, these wetlands are considered emergent. We're allowed to drive the piles in there, but we're not allowed to grade. So that was some of the adjustments over in this area where it got steeper. It was getting a little steep for the racks, and it was wetlands, so we can't do any grading in there. So we had to just kind of relocate stuff into areas that we needed to do a little grading, we could, without it being in the wetlands. And then we also adjusted the road to make sure we got kind of around, and a shot that made sense down through the middle, where again, we're trying to avoid disturbance of the wetland without turning this into a bunch of switchbacks.
And you've got some turnaround there for emergency
Always.
access.
Yep. There, and there'll be one here. National Grid requires, this road here in our facility is only 12 feet wide.
Mhm.
That would be the DEC approved pervious road for our stormwater considerations. National Grid requires a 20-foot wide road, minimum 12-inch thick stone.
Mhm.
So it's a
How
little,
long is that, the 20?
just to the end of their pole. It'll transition right here down to 12 feet. So as long as we did them 20 feet with a turnaround along their pole line, that's all they care about. After that, we can bring it down as we come into our facility to our 12
Should be
feet.
about 200 feet.
200 feet.
Yeah,
I
or
think the
less.
policies max of 16 feet, but
Yeah,
National
that
Grid
Steve had that in there. So most of our facility is 12, but we have to give National Grid 20 feet so that
Okay.
they can get their line trucks in and turn around and get them out without having to back out onto a public road.
and those panels are about, I think about 14 feet apart. Is that what it is?
The panels, the separation in the rows of the
Yeah,
panel.
I think you put it in the, As it's 14.
Yeah. It's actually
Feet
in the
apart.
detail in the drawings, and one of the, if we have the separation shown. here somewhere.
That's all right.
I think it might be less if we switch.
It's
We do
12'7".
Is that with single panel racking?
Say it again, 4'7".
I'm showing 12'7" right now.
All right, so in your swept, it says 14 feet.
Yeah, I'll double check that, make sure
So
they
make
match up.
sure your numbers are right.
It could be that the SWIP is right on the most recent, at the detail, maybe didn't get updated. to the most
And
recent
what is,
layout.
what is that? that you have?
That's the same set of drawings you got.
Okay,
One note too is we've updated racking from what was shown here. That was what we call 2-panel portrait. So if this is one of the panels, the rack would go right down the center. There'd be 2 panels like this and they'd swing. That went up to 14.5 feet. The panel we're now proposing on the drawings that you have, or the racking, I'm sorry, is a single panel and portrait. So it's actually shorter. It's about 8.5 feet tall at its highest point. So that,
Oh, as opposed to 14.
Yeah,
as
'cause
opposed to
instead of
14,
two side
yeah.
by side, tip way up.
So that will be something,
Single.
we just have to amend, because this was old.
Okay.
It's got new racking.
Yeah.
And the racking is one of the most fluid things for them, because when it gets time to go to construction,
14,
some stuff's just not available anymore.
right.
It's a supply chain issue that everybody's.
You just go over the setbacks between where the solar project is going to be and the neighbors.
Yes. So, here, I think the setback is
Okay.
25 feet.
25 feet all the way around.
On the sides that are bordering agriculture. I think for residential, it was more, but we don't have residential, not on this side. So on the side bordering agriculture, for rear and side, I think it's 25.
Okay, because that's our policy, 25 feet.
He's right, residential is more like,
I think it's 100.
yeah, it's 100.
That's
what I saw in here.
But it's not, but not because
No, so
any
these
residents.
are all agricultural zone districts. So it's 25 all the way around. On this side, we had to squeeze to try to stay out of the wetlands that are steep over here. So the panels are still within 25-foot setback. The fence is over, but it's still fully on our property with a buffer between the property lines.
Okay. And is that considered prime?
I can't remember. Do you remember?
I'm guessing we kept the prime land over there. This it's got that much wetland.
A lot of times when they look at this, though, they'll say the entire parcel is prime, even though they don't
Depends
take
on
the
the scale
specific
of the map.
survey.
Well, if you look at,
It's all in the ag district.
it's all in the ag district, but if you look at that land like on GIS, that's wet.
Yeah.
That is,
So we're required to submit, and we're in the process of submitting to ag markets, since this is an agricultural district and they have strict construction guidelines we have to follow. And we have to note that we're adhering to their guidelines. So that's all.
Actually
in
on the
process.
plans. That was one of Steve's comment. So we have notes on here that will follow US Ag and Markets guidelines, and we also have a note on there that no prime farm soil will be removed from the site either.
Saw that. Thank you. So where are you gonna put your stockpiles of that prime land that you're gonna remove? I didn't see the stockpiles on the site plan.
Without removing it.
Should be taking anything out.
All
That's
stockpiles will be
the GMO green.
temporary.
Right. We're only
We'll
doing,
use them as topsoil.
right, so for the purpose of the stormwater plan,
She's got it in the site plan.
right up here, we have an area designated for a staging area and a soil stockpile if we need one. But the intent would not be to take it anywhere, they're just gonna do whatever minimal grading they need to down in these areas and spread that around, as long as they're not filling in the wetlands, they can just reuse it right in here, because all they really need to do is reduce a little bit of the slope in some of these areas for the panels to tolerate it. So there's not a ton of grading to do. Most of it is the access road. Putting that road in, and the idea would be to spread it around as topsoil, like Mike said, they don't want to pay to haul it off anymore than you want.
And we
to take it
can't.
off.
Oh, we
We
don't
can't
want it
haul it
hauled
off,
off. We
that's
want
right.
to get
So-
stockpiled up and reput.
So that,
Back
they'll
in there
use
after-
it, they'll just use it when they're done as topsoil and dressing for their seeding vegetation that they're gonna plant.
What are the plans for keeping the foliage below the panel?
So we typically use a slow growth pollinator mix that's flowering.
I mean, is someone gonna mow it? or
Yes, it'll be mowed maybe 2 to 3 times max per season.
do you have a bad fence for grazing and all of that? If it was off the ground.
Oh, so the fence that's proposed is a pasture fencing. We prefer that over chain link because chain link looks a little industrial.
But you had it mounted above the ground.
The,
Yeah. Plenty for a coyote to get through.
We need to
You
have
gotta
it.
graze
for the benches.
To allow the-
Nobody can graze.
well, if they do grazing.
So we show a maximum 1.5 inch gap. Right now with 6-inch square openings on the bottom.
Oh, that's okay.
So it's a box wire fence.
Down to the ground.
Yeah, so we show about a 1.5 inch gap here, and then it starts at 6 by 6 squares and gets a little tighter as it goes up. So you know,
It's
kids aren't.
upside down when you raise
Yeah,
it.
Right, we
Yeah.
flip it so the bigger holes are on the bottom to let critters back and forth,
Yeah.
but then it gets a little smaller as it comes up.
So would you look at the gate while we're looking at that? I thought the gate only gave like a 1.5 inch gap, not 6 inches.
No, that's what he's saying. that-
Yeah, no, right here, we show 1.5 inch max gap
Yeah, but-
underneath fabric here.
So where the ground begins and the bottom of the gate, is it gonna be 6 inches?
No, we're
inch and a half.
showing 1.5 inches.
That is how it's 6 inches. Needs to be 6
You want it to be 6 inches so the gate swings clear.
inches.
I think this.
We can adjust that on the gate. The
I
6
think the
inches,
fence
there's-
is fine,
Yeah,
because the fence
this is-
says
okay.
6 inches, but the gate was
Oh, I see.
It's long.
was too low.
The fence has 6-inch openings at the bottom.
bottom. It doesn't have a
It
6 inch
doesn't have a
gap.
6-inch
fabric.
gap from the bottom of the fence. to the
Right.
ground.
We have 6 by 6
That might
openings
be all right.
so
then.
that something can get through there, but the fabric starts 1.5 inches off.
Not the little critters.
Right, that's why, so we take what this fence normally would be put in the other way to keep little things out of gardens and people are trying to grow. We flip it so they can run back and forth, and then the tighter is up top. So,
That should be all right, then, as long as it's 6 inches.
yeah,
That's
so
the
these
little critters can
boxes
get
on the
in.
bottom, couple of courses are 6 by 6, and then they
Okay.
start to get tighter as it goes up
Okay,
with a 1.5 inch gap under the
on the
fabric.
bottom.
Yeah.
But the fence has that. 6 inch
Yeah, the
gap,
first
so-
row or two is just 6 by 6, so plenty some squirrels and mice and whatnot.
You're not putting barbed wire.
No,
No, it's a standard 8-foot
Pretty tall fence.
box
Yeah,
wire
okay.
style.
we've had major pushback on chain link and barbed wire and for good reason. It's just very industrial looking.
This is the fence we're talking about, right? You drew it in there?
Yes, yeah, that's our guy's best, yeah.
Flat.
Yeah, and we have cut sheets on, different versions of that too, that show it, color pictures.
For your equipment mounting. It was C501 for the site plan.
Okay.
Our policy says something about adding a layer of crushed stone on top of monofilament woven geotextile fabric.
So he's,
Is that what you have? Because I didn't.
we
I
don't
didn't
have that
get
yet, so right now we have a standard detail with slab with stone underneath it. What we'll do is they will do a geotech, they'll do soil borings out there, they'll get a geotech report done by the soil boring company that does all that. They usually will have recommendations in there that we will then use when we get to final construction drawing sets that we're going for building permit. We'll have the specs on the actual equipment they're gonna set on the pads. We'll have the soil parameters, geotech report, and then we'll do a final design. This is just a typical example. What we see a lot of times up here, this far north, is we end up with a couple options for them. One is that we'll basically take this stone down to frost, which is 4.5, 5 feet up here, right? Depending on what they do, because some of this equipment has less than an inch tolerance of being able to move around. So we'll end up taking this down, putting in, depending on whether or not the geotech recommends it, the fabric that you're talking about to separate it, backfilling and compacting this and this so that it's not frost soil, it's structural fill, and then the pad won't move. And then we have another option we sometimes offer them, depending on how the geotech is written. It's a shallow frost design that we do, where it's stone, and then you include insulation that basically insulation wings that come out here and prevent the frost from penetrating underneath. But all that will be done when they go in for a building permit with their full electrical set, and we know what the equipment is and what the final pad size and layout is from the electrical engineers. we have that geotech report, we'll design those pads at that time.
I think the reason for the woven fabric, et cetera, was the decommissioning. The ease of decommissioning.
Being able to pull the stone out.
Pull
Yeah.
it out.
There's
is
no issue.
that.
Showing that. We could.
No, we can add it, right,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would normally be right in here between the stone. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd put like a Mirify 600 or
Right.
something like that, similar to, we show it and call it off here in the road. It's a similar type of separation.
Okay.
We
Right.
can have that added, no problem.
And then is there going to be any lighting?
I don't think you put the-
No, no lighting. The only thing we sometimes have, well, we probably will have is on the equipment pads. When they open up the equipment, they'll have some type of work lighting in case they have to go out at night. But that's it.
Did you say something?
No, I was thinking with the equipment, there'll be lighting on the equipment. but
Yeah,
not-
so they'd have something in each of the pads probably, so that there's a tech that has to go out at night.
Yeah.
Have you considered some agricultural use for the land? Like bees or grazing sheep? or what have you?
Yeah, I'm
What do you
looking
point
at,
at me?
looking at bees right now.
You're looking at bees?
Yes, bees are a challenge for liability reasons within the limits.
Mhm.
So we're working with a company called Catalyze, a very large outfit that would be owner operator of this site. We can't have bee farms within the facility because it's too much of a liability for them.
Mhm.
We are toying around the idea of a bee farm up in this corner since it's not going to be used anyway.
Like all the bees can fly in.
With the pollinators, yeah. So it's something that we are considering right now. I'm trying to find out the legal repercussions of it. But it is something we are working toward.
That would just maintain some agriculture.
Yeah,
use of that
yeah.
property.
You said you were gonna be mowing and not using like an animal grazing.
That's the plan now. Yeah. They're not, I know that Catalyze is not against sheep grazing. I could bring it up to them just to get their take on it.
So you mow in between the rows, but you don't mow underneath.
It's usually somebody's using a string trimmer or sycamore. Yeah.
When you say you mow all the grass?
But only like twice a summer, just
Right.
enough to knock
No,
it
I
down,
get
so
it.
it doesn't get
Right.
up past the edge of the panel.
No, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
I mean, if you just try to run that through, there's one thing, but you gotta get underneath every one of the racks.
It's a full week of work.
I bet.
So if you know anybody. we're
You
always
gonna
open.
subcontract that around here?
Yeah.
Somebody?
No, a bunch of teenagers.
I got 3 kids.
There's a couple
Keep
people
them
that
busy for a
mow.
week, too.
Right, so they're like,
Yeah,
Be a good
there's certain insurance requirements have to be, but it's usually nothing crazy. So feel free to give out my name and number and I can add that to
Always
whoever
cheaper
did
to
it.
get someone local to do
Yeah.
it like that, try and bring someone through that.
I didn't see a phasing plan. Did I miss it?
For the stormwater plant part, okay, so we will put in, when we submit the SWIP to the DEC, we will put in a request for a waiver to disturb more than 5 acres at a time. So we don't have a phasing plan in the SWIP yet, because we're going to make that request. When we make that request, then we will have to submit the full report to the regional DEC office, and their engineer will review it, have comments on it, either approve it, or make us change things to approve it. The reason we do that in kind of the justification we give them, I guess you're gonna call it, is that while we're technically disturbing this whole area at once, right, or big chunks of it, we're not grading it. Like, we're not asking them to go clear cut, strip all the topsoil, open the whole place up. We're asking them for the ability to just drive around it, understanding we're gonna muck it up a little bit as we do that with equipment. Well, really, we're only disturbing, what would be considered construction disturbance for the roads, some of these grading areas. But we understand we're going to be driving around, we're going to be breaking ground. It's not gonna be perfect, but we're not going in there stripping it out like it's a brand new, Walmart or something, and we're clearing the whole site down to dirt. They will leave as much intact as they can, and then topsoil will seed over the top of it when they're done. And then obviously anything they're doing in these wetlands areas, they'll be using mud mats and things like that to avoid disturbance. So we asked them for permission on all these to do that, just to save the contractor, because when we do a phasing plan on a site this big, he's gotta do a 5 acre chunk, stop, seed, mulch, move on.
Right.
And then in the way they build it, right, they want to put the road in first, then they want to go back and do any grading, anything they have to do, then they want to go back and start putting racks on, they want to go back and start, so they end up having to move around the site and come back through like 3 times to get everything done, seeding and mulching and.
And you
So-
got an acre of trees.
Right. So
yeah.
we got to, so we'll ask for permission. That'll go in with the SWIP. What we usually do is submit the NOI to BC. Once that's deemed complete, then we'll send a 5 acre waiver letter with a copy of the full SWIP report to the regional office. And the letter that comes back deeming it complete from Albany usually gives us the contact for that region that we need to send it to. And then we'll work with them to try and get that waiver or whatever other measures they think we need. It's kind of an extra step for us and our customer, because if we didn't ask for that waiver
Mhm.
and we didn't go over 5 acres,
Right.
it's an electronic filing to Albany. They look at it, deem it complete, we're good to go. But because we want to ask that waiver, they actually take the report and the regional engineer actually goes right through it. So the level of review, but it's to try and, give them a little bit of freedom to move around the site.
The questions you have.
The thing you said initially about the community solar, could you explain that a little more? 'Cause
Sure.
That's pretty much for me, like an unknown.
Yeah, so this facility is gonna generate enough power. This is 5 megawatt AC, 6.7 megawatt DC. It's inverted AC and then we lose some, but we can essentially inject up to 5 megawatts AC into the grid. With our annual estimates, it should be able to produce enough power for between 700 and 800 homes annually. So through New York State, this community solar program, we offer subscriptions to basically a ripple effect. It'll start here. We'll start offering subscriptions to everybody surrounding, all the way out till we get to the edge of the load zone, utility load zone, until we fill our need. And we guarantee them a certain discount. It's normally 10%. And actually, I think it's going to be required that it's 10% here shortly, with new legislation coming out.
So the thing about the solar power, a lot of people will buy into it, but they won't exactly get the solar power, but later, it's almost like you will get some solar power.
Well, not necessarily. It's going to be metered. So they're going to get the credits from the solar power. But the people that really benefit is anybody that's on this distribution line, because it's adding stability to that line. If there's blackouts, brownouts, we're creating a stable micro station of power that we can inject power back into the grid. So yeah, if somebody is, this load zone is huge. It's load zone E here. And I think that can go all the way down to Utica. It's big, it's vast. Obviously, if we create power here, they're not going to technically see that power, but they'll get the credits.
Basically, what your subscription gets you is your percentage of the credit for the entire facility. Right, they're getting credits for selling it. So when you're as a subscriber to that facility, you get a piece of it. And then, as Mike said, this zone is huge. If you relocate, as long as you're still within the zone, it goes with you. As long as you're still a National Grid customer within that zone, it just follows you.
Wow.
It's not tied to your address.
I just came from the sustainability committee meeting, so I'm gonna ask this question. You had mentioned the fabric that went down. And we were just having a conversation about microplastics, and I suspect the fabric is a polymer
Yes.
of some sort.
Yep.
I mean, I'm wondering what would be left of a plastic after 25 to 40 years of having trucks drive over the top of it, and whether we'd be better off not having the fabric there. So in the decommissioning process, when they go to scoop this out with a backhoe or a bulldozer, really, what is the integrity of a 40-year-old layer of plastic?
Do you know the useful life on Marathon?
I don't know, and there's new ones coming out all the time, but she was specific to the slab underneath that. I've seen geotechs do it both ways. They don't. We have a couple where a geotech specific engineer specifically said they wanted it there. And the reason is to help keep the fines and things, it kind of holds it up, it separates it from the ground. But I've seen other ones where
When they decommission,
they don't ask for it, or it'll say specifically that it's to be placed at the direction of geotech engineer during construction. So he'll be on site and he will look at the hole they dig and then he'll decide whether or not he wants it there, right? So we'll put notes in there to that effect, because all of our design is based on their properties and soil conclusions and things like that. The road here that we're gonna propose for our part of the facility after National Grid actually has a grid, like a geo grid in it. And it's considered pervious by DEC. So essentially the water will go through it. It doesn't, when we do our SWIP, and I think Steve knows this, we still consider the road impervious, even though it is an approved pervious access road by DEC. We're trying to be conservative, because to your point, it might be pervious now, 30 years from now, dust is in the air, dirt's in the air, grass goes through things so there'll be maintenance to it, but 30 years from now, it may not be as pervious as it is the day they put it in. So we consider it impervious and treat it that way in our stormwater report to be overly conservative. But the road we're using is an approved DEC pervious road. And then the only one that has that fabric in it now is the National Grid portion for stability for their vehicles. And again, that.
And I'm thinking less plastic in the ground.
Right.
The better.
This is a woven
Sure.
fabric, but
The woven.
it'll also depend on, again, we'll finalize that road detail, what's in it when we see that geotechnical report come in.
Just from a constructability standpoint, even looking at this without that geotech, it's mushy enough in these areas. I don't know if we'll be able to get away without having fabric underneath or geotextile. Or else we're gonna start losing our aggregate in the ground. It's just gonna start, it's gonna start pumping. That moisture may come up, so we may not have a choice on that side.
Well, like I said, we'll see what their geotech, recommends. And if we have questions on it, we've had sites, we had one recently for another customer that the site was in the Governor, and in their report, they gave a frost depth of 38 inches, and I went, no, that's not deep enough. It's- So we told them, and it's 60 now, 5 feet. We went down to make sure we get stability.
And I fully understand having a need for it, but that's the difference between having a need for it and having a requirement of it. And I guess I would prefer not to require it, but I don't know that that's my.
Right now, it's our policy.
Yeah.
And we drafted it from the state's policy. That's where it came from. We didn't change much from the state. Okay, and I understand where you're coming from. Absolutely. Speaking of decommissioning, I looked at your decommissioning plan revision. I have a couple of recommendations. Could you do the archival color images of the location? I know you've got them basically from Route 11, right?
Mhm.
But could you do it where you're gonna put your panels
Okay.
before you start construction, like a week or so before construction? So that we know what it looks like before
That's a good
work
point.
begins.
Would drone footage?
I could get drone
Footage
footage of
rather
it.
drone before we, right before
I
construction
think
starts.
so.
Okay.
And add the decompacting. Gonna compact soil.
Uh,
Some, right?
yeah, I mean,
Road.
only in the road, but.
Yeah,
everything
and it's
else
not,
we-
they'll do a proof roll of the road bed, and then if needed, put a fabric down and then put the stone up.
So in your decommissioning plan, you should add that decompacting soils to depth of whatever, 2 feet or whatever. Regrade it and reseed it to the site to its original condition.
Okay,
Okay?
I think,
That's also part of the New York State aid department's
Yeah.
requirements too.
Yeah.
the
I
decommissioning.
know you're still
So that's,
got some stuff to do, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, could you itemize your decommissioning costs, like that table one? That's for that.
Yeah,
I like
you
that.
want a breakdown.
Instead of
itemized.
overall, break it down.
Yeah, we went with the nice sort of guidance and their rough numbers and then worked it up on your percentage
I saw
requirements, but
that.
if you want to break out, we can do that.
Yeah, I'd like to see an itemized.
Do you see on the decommissioning portion of it, you see that road staying? Hypothetically,
Well, the way our plan is written, it is to be taken out unless you as the town and them as the landowner were to decide they wanted it to stay. But we're not gonna put that in the plan because we don't want to give them out, to leave it in there without permission.
right?
Certainly as the town, if for whatever reason, say the landowner says, I'd like that to stay, like I'd like that timber bridge to stay, because I want to be able to get over there. If you are okay with it, and the owner's okay with it, then they'll leave it there. versus pay to take it out.
So,
But we're not gonna give them permission to do that in the plan. The plan, we're gonna require that it goes back to the way it was.
That's for that duration.
And then that, they'll have to apply for permits when they come. They'll have to do another SWIP. Because they're gonna go in there and disturb it again. So you'll have opportunities to have some input as to
9 years, man.
how.
9 years.
Unless this thing doesn't go to the 25-year life, it won't be your decision.
No, I honestly, where I had it 2 different ways. I had a project which is right up the road for me. That the owner came to this meeting and basically said, I want that road to stay.
Right, yep.
And I had the other individual say, no, I want it
Gone.
gone.
So we always write the report that it has to go back to the way it started. But as the town, if the landowner came to you and said, I don't want to take that out, and the town was okay with that, then you could give that, you can tell them you don't. want that.
So I have a dumb question that I'd be so bad if I didn't ask it. I know we soothe our souls with decommissioning plan and it's all written up and it looks very nice, but to me, now, tell me I'm really off the wall here, but you put those racks in, I don't see them ever being taken out. Ever.
I mean, it's funny that you bring that up because I always thought that that was the case that in 35 years, 25 to 35 years, when this is done, say the next owner comes through and says, well, this facility's here, we now have 2,000 watt panels, we could produce a lot of power, can we get another permit? But what I found out with this job is that they design that steel for 35-year useful life. Once it hits the end of that life, not to say it can't go longer, I'm not gonna say that, but it's only designed for the 35 years of the life of the facility.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're not wrong, but at that point, they would have to continue to apply for special use permit again, site plan approval, and they'd have to go through the whole process.
We just need to do that.
I mean, there would be contractual items on our end that would have to be redone. And if the town doesn't want to proceed with that, then the decommissioning bond is in place. And you should have language in your bylaw that says if you're not producing power here, well, now the town has legal jurisdiction to come in and say, we're pulling the bond.
And that's listed in the plan.
Yeah.
We take it from your bylaw. So there's a trigger for decom, and one of them is if you're not producing power, I think it's 12 months, then you have the ability to either make them do it, or if they won't do it, you'll have the bond in place to go do it yourself.
So you built in planned obsolescence to this thing.
I mean, it's, yeah,
I'm just crashing into my brain, but
Well, like to his point, it's not to say it won't hold it longer, but the manufacturer's not going to say it will, right? So you can put them on there if you want, but the manufacturer.
everything in this business is warranty.
Right.
Because these panels are a 25-year warranty and everything stems off that. I mean, the whole program through NYSERDA is a 25-year long program because of these warranties given to the
If you're
panel.
the rack manufacturer and the panel's good for 25 years, why would you guarantee your stuff much beyond that? Put yourself on the hook for a whole another 25-year panel if someone comes and drops it on your rack.
well, you don't want to tell the community you're bringing a solar project in that's going to be there for 50 years. That might be unacceptable. For 25 years sounds nice.
Yeah,
Then you can take the whole thing apart, but in reality, they could build racks that last
They
50 years.
They could,
They
and
could.
they might
Oh, yeah.
last 50 years. Manufacturer just won't guarantee it. Manufacturer probably just doesn't want to be on the hook for a whole brand new panel in 25 more years beyond the first one. Why would he want to be liable for that, right? So
so what are the chances that there'll be better panels that they will keep the posts and replace the panels?
I'll give you an example. I started this position. I actually worked with Eric at TNS. I started in solar in 2019. And we were speccing 335 watt panels, which are about 6 feet by 4 feet. Right now, we're speccing 580 watt panels, same footprint. And we're hearing 600 and 700 are coming out next year. So the technological growth is coming.
and they're the
coming quick.
bifacials, so they don't,
Yeah.
to the point of glare and all that, right? They purposely don't reflect it. They get as much as they can when they go through. Up here, it hits the snow, comes back up off the snow when they grab it again.
So in 25 years, the likelihood that we need this much space to produce that same amount of power, it's highly unlikely.
Could you add the terms of the lease in your decommissioning plan?
Which specific terms, the 25 to 35?
What is the terms of the lease?
It's 25 years.
That's what you're.
That's the initial
signing
term. Yep. And then 2 5-year extensions if us as the owner find it feasible. Otherwise, the
So you have
commence
two
is
5-year options.
2 5-year
At
options.
yours.
Why don't you spell it out
Yeah, yeah.
on your decommissioning plan? Any other questions? All right, so we'll look at part 1 of the SEQR. And then hopefully we'll declare a resolution for the intent of the Town of Canton Planning Board to act as lead agency, and we have a list of all the different lead agencies and interested entities of this project. Thank you for the presentation. That was fun. I've done a lot of work. So, this will be on- This is yours. Okay, this is your pile.
Thank you.
No,
And
Thank you.
if you want one of these, you can have one of these big sites in it. My
Kayla is muted at the moment.
does she want to
Does she need to?
Kayla, would you like to go through the seeker with us, or what's the best way to proceed?
Yeah, I can kind of walk us through that. And please stop me if anyone has any questions. Just kind of a quick overview of the coordinated review under the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
Hang on just a second, Kayla.
Yep,
I'm
no problem.
Dad, she's in the middle of something.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay, all right.
So just hang on, let us get situated.
All right. She's got it. She's got it. She's all set. Kayla, do you want, I was gonna run through it, but if you'd like.
Yeah,
to run
no,
through it,
I
that's fine.
mean, that's totally up to you. I'm here if there's any questions. But yeah, if you wanna take lead, that's fine as well.
All right. So this has all been reviewed by BNL, our engineers, and so the first page is just the project and the sponsors. Yeah. Page 2 is the government approvals. And we've looked at this before, and I think we just checked the no's and the agencies that it wasn't going to go through. And we're going to wait on New York State DEC, Ag and Markets, and NYSERDA. Right.
And NYSERDA, the application to Ag and Markets actually comes through their NYSERDA application, and NYSERDA actually reaches out to Ag and Markets on their behalf, so with all responses kind of pulled from NYSERDA.
So those things are still pending. And then planning and zoning actions, there's none. Adopted land use plans. It is a comprehensive land use plan, including the site where the proposed action would be located. This is a commercial zone. It is a permitted project for that zone. So that's okay. And then is it within the adopted municipal open space plan or an adopted municipal farmland protection plan? And it is, it's an ag district. Going on to C3 for zoning is zoned rural commercial. For A, for B, is the use permitted or allowed by special use permit? It is indeed. There is no zoning change being requested. School district is Canton Central. Police department is Canton Police, Canton Fire Department, St. Lawrence Health Systems Medical Campus. And the parks that serve the project site are the Canton Village Park. D, project, any questions about C? No. All right, D is project details. D1 is proposed and potential development. The total, it is a commercial solar PV array. For A, for B, the total acreage on the site proposed is 81.99 acres. The total acreage to be physically disturbed is 32.08 acres. And the total acreage of the project site owned or controlled by the applicant or project sponsor is 32.08 acres. Is a proposed action expansion of an existing project or use? It is not. Is a proposed action a subdivision or does it include a subdivision? It's not. Is a proposed action be constructed in multiple phases? No, but it's anticipated to be constructed over 6 months, a 6-month period to put in all of that. And we're not looking at a phasing project. F, does the project include new residential uses? It does not. Does the proposed action include new non-residential construction? Yes, it does. The total number of panels and structures is going to be 264. That's the rack.
Yeah, physical rack.
Okay.
At max tilt, it's around 9 feet, depending because they run, it's a little varied because they run on the table. They have to keep a minimal clearance below grade, so as the
Oh, so
grade
it's
kind of
okay.
wobbles beneath it, the
Okay.
panel stays straight. So that some areas will be a little more, some areas will be a little less.
So
as
we've
the
got
ground.
10 feet in height
Right, so we're showing 10 as to be conservative.
and
yes.
7.4 at the width and
That's the width.
190 in length. Is that correct?
Right, so what that is the 7.4 is the panel lane sideways on it, right? The 190 is the full length of one rack,
Yeah.
for all the panels stacked on it. Yep.
So 264 racks at 190.
Yes.
There's some shorter ones too.
264?
I think
Yes,
there's a couple different
264.
sizes,
Thank you.
but the max one's the 190.
And the extended building space to be heated or cooled, there's none. Does the proposed action include construction or other activities that will result in the impoundment of any liquid such as creation of a water supply, reservoir, pond, lake, waste lagoon, or other storage? He said no, because you're just going to drill through these wetlands, right? You
Just
kind of
driving
through your
by,
raft.
right.
and-
Right, and our slip doesn't have any detention basin.
Okay. Any questions about C? Kayla, jump in if there's anything I'm missing, okay?
Okay, yep.
D2 is project operations. Does the proposed action include any excavation, mining, or dredging during construction operations or both? And as Mike and Eric discussed, there is none. Will the proposed action cause or result in alteration of, increase or decrease in size of, or encroachment into any existing wetland, water body, shoreline, or adjacent area? Yes, indeed it does. In the wetland or water body that would be affected as a federally regulated unnamed wetlands and one federally regulated stream. And we talked about that. Describe how the proposed action would affect that water body or wetland, for example, excavation, fill, placement of structures, or alterations of channels, banks, and shorelines. Indicate extent of activities, alterations, and additions in square feet or acres. The project will involve the placement of solar racks and fencing in wetland areas. These impacts will not result in a permanent loss of wetland coverage and are not considered significant. The project will also result in the placement of an access road through approximately 0.2 acres of wetland, which would result in permanent loss of wetland areas. The stream crossing for the access road will be accomplished by constructing a bridge over the waterway. No direct impacts in the waterway are anticipated. And Eric is going to include those specs of the bridge and the revised site plan.
But it'll be a full, that will do sections and
You
details.
said how long was it? How big is that bridge?
It has to be 1.25 times the ordinary high water mark. So we'll dig into the survey and find that mark and
Okay.
that span. It's determined.
I do have a quick question on that. The 0.2 acres of wetland, is that the acreage that's going to be permanently lost?
Yes, that's the acreage that on either side of the stream from the bridge out as the road cuts through there. That's
Okay, because I'd have to check with our environmental team, and I'm pretty sure the threshold is 1/10 of an acre.
so. if you need to get
So are you Are you looking to get a permit from the Corps?
This will be all be submitted to the Corps with that.
Okay.
And with the bridge in it too, so they see that we're treating the stream as well. Yep.
Okay.
With a mitigation that's over the 10th of an acre.
Do you have any like preliminary correspondence with the Corps? I don't know if you passed any of that along yet, but
No, we've been out with the DEC to make sure they weren't state wetlands.
okay.
Haven't the Corps yet, so it'll be a joint permit after the Corps for the stream crossing and the disturbance of the wetlands. So that's Mike said, since we're over that 10th of an acre, they'll have to basically pay into a fund as mitigation for that additional acreage.
Okay.
Okay, Kayla?
Yep.
All right. Will the proposed action cause or result in disturbance to bottom sediments? No. Will the proposed action cause or result in the destruction or removal of aquatic vegetation? No. Number C, will the proposed action use or create a new demand for water? And you've got no. D, will the proposed action generate liquid waste? I said no. Will the proposed action disturb more than 1 acre and create stormwater runoff, either from new point sources like ditches, pipes, swales, curbs, gutters, or other concentrated flows of stormwater, or non-point source? And the answer is yes. How much impervious surface will the project create in relation to total size of the project parcel? Is 0.88 acres of impervious surface, and the total parcel size is 81.99 acres. Where will the stormwater runoff be directed? It's going to be directed to the on-site water and drainage ways. And in the site plan, he's got all the swales and the stuff and how they're going to do that. If to surface waters identifying receiving water bodies or wetlands, Tracy Brook to the south of the project site. Will stormwater runoff flow to adjacent properties? It will not. Does the proposed plan minimize impervious surfaces, use impervious materials, or collect and reuse stormwater? And yes, it does. We have 0.88 acres of impervious. I thought someplace that was more than that.
The roads, the concrete pads, essentially.
Or more than that?
No, that's what that 0.88 acres is. In the SWIP, like I said earlier, in the SWIP, we consider the full length of the access road impervious for our calcs. So it
Okay.
may be a bigger number in the SWIP.
I thought it was a
Yeah.
bigger number.
So in the SWIP, even though we're putting in the DEC approved impervious
Okay.
road
Yeah.
through the
Yeah,
facility,
you have 1.14
right?
acres.
So
in
we
the SWIP.
count the whole road in the SWIP. We don't, to be conservative.
Shouldn't it be the same in here?
I guess we could make it, the difference is we're actually putting in that approved pervious access road. So it really isn't impervious, but in the SWIP for our calculations, we count it to be conservative. So that we're dealing with the water as if it was an impervious access road, even though it's an approved pervious road for DC. So we can make that match if you want. That's
I think
just
it'd be
cleaner.
easier if it matched.
Okay, we can do that.
So we'll change it to 1.14. Okay. Does the proposed action include, or will it use on-site one or more sources of air emission, including fluid combustion, waste, incineration, or other process or operations? And the answer is yes. If yes, identify mobile sources during project operations, for example, heavy equipment, fleet, or delivery vehicles. Construction equipment and equipment delivery vehicles will be used for the duration of the construction, and you expect that construction to last about 6 months, correct?
And a lot of that delivery will be the upfront stuff too. Once the racks and panels are in, it's a lot of electricians and people running around.
Well, for sure.
Right.
It's a lot of work.
How many months? Did you say?
6.
Thank you.
Stationary sources during constructions, there's none. Stationary sources during operations, there's none. G is, will any air emission sources named in D2F above require a New York State air registration air facility permit or Federal Clean Air Act Title IV or Title V permit? And the answer is no. 8, will the proposed action generate or emit methane, including but not limited to sewage treatment plants, landfills, composting facilities? So the answer is no. Will the proposed action result in a release of air pollutants from open air operations or processes such as quarry or landfill operations? And the answer is no. Will the proposed action result in a substantial increase in traffic above present levels or generate substantial new demand for transportation facilities or services? And the answer is no, but I imagine in the beginning it will, because you're going to have all those delivery trucks, right?
During construction, yeah, but that wouldn't be an increased time. To me, the way I look at this is a question of, are you putting a strain on the
Not
highway
long-term.
system, long-term transportation?
Okay.
You have to have it in the beginning.
Yeah. Okay, will the proposed action for commercial or industrial projects only generate new or additional demand for energy? The answer is no. Hours of operation are going to be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday.
What if that changes?
What if it changes? Did you say?
Yeah, what if it changes?
I think maybe we should change it if it's allowed, and then we can back off. I think it'd be easier to have it change now than, I mean, I think we should have Saturday if that's acceptable.
Sure. But include it in your other plan too, because you revised this because the original one said 7 to 5 or something, which was different than your first plan. that you
Yeah, we
put
had to
for
revise
SEQR.
this to match your operation.
Yeah, operations plan.
Operations plan should say.
So your operation plan needs to include Saturdays as well.
The only reason I bring it up, the one by my house is for
So you want to do
Monday to Saturday.
you want to do Monday, Saturday, 7 to 7 too?
If that's acceptable.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Put it in there.
Like you
And
said,
then-
that is
then
part of the
change
approval
your-
to the public complaint.
Change your
Yeah.
operation plan to match it up. And will the proposed action produce noise that will exceed existing ambient noise levels during construction operation? Both. And Eric submitted, I think it was you, Eric, and Mike, submitted the noise analysis, and the closest neighbor, the decibels would be, according to CDC, because I checked the CDC site, it would be equivalent to a soft whisper. So it's not going to be a very loud noise for the neighbor. And I think it's a total of 82 decibels. Is it decibels?
Decibels,
That was
Decibel?
source.
added source, yeah.
That's-
And
I
combining both
think that was-
the inverter and the
right,
transformer
the source,
noises,
that was
right?
total source value, right?
So that combined would be like city traffic inside your car.
And that by the time it
But
got
the
to
closest neighbor, by the time it got to the closest neighbor, it'd be like a soft whisper.
I think even by the property line.
And by the property line, it's going to be like a normal conversation, about
Right, it
60
was like
decibels.
51 at the closest property line.
Yeah, you got
Closest commercial
60.
Structure was 40, the closest residential was down to 30.
Mhm.
And that's true, and the other thing,
So
that's
thank you for that.
right, and that's assuming no screen at all between the inverter and that house. We can't, there's no way to build in tree lines, fence lines, the trees in there, there's none of that. So that's actually probably a little conservative, because there'll be other things between the house and that will break that down as well.
So there's going to be minor noise generated during construction from the equipment. That impact is temporary. The inverters used for the project create that minor amounts of noise, and the noise generated from the inverters is not anticipated to be significant to the adjacent properties. Number 2, will the proposed action remove existing natural barriers that could act as a noise barrier or screen? There's minimal tree clearing. It's about an acre, 0.88 of an acre. It's only in that one section.
And
right?
it's, so it's not anywhere
It's
that's
not.
between the house and stuff.
And and there's no way you can offset taking out that scrub and those trees by cleaning vegetation elsewhere. Right?
I mean,
It looks really tight.
we could consider offsetting. The only problem with offsetting is we're taking away further agricultural land, but
Somewhere else on the property outside, so it was somewhere he was using something.
I'm just not sure that's even necessary. What do you guys think?
Because he wants to use the other part of it for agriculture, so. I wouldn't want to cut into that at all.
I'll get a picture too of the area we're clearing, because I think it's all junk. Scrub brush.
Thorn apple.
Yeah.
It's probably, right, we could
Gems.
probably point you to the pictures of the
Yeah,
area.
well,
Yeah, you're gonna get that for us anyway,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Before you
Yeah.
with your drone.
Yeah, right.
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 You're gonna do all that. All right, will the proposed action have outdoor lighting? No. Does the proposed action have the potential to produce odors for more than 1 hour per day? Answer is no. Will the proposed action include any bulk storage of petroleum or chemical products, 185 gallons and above ground storage, or any amount of underground storage? The answer is no. Will the proposed action, commercial, industrial, and recreational projects only use pesticides, herbicides, insecticides during construction or operation? You have no, but in your SWAP. In the SWAP, you talked about using a herbicide to stop the stumps from growing.
We can't use.
Yeah,
with
that's,
this.
yeah,
We gotta remove that.
You gotta take that out then.
Let's take that.
I'm
Yeah,
not
you
sure
mark
if
it.
it was in the SWAP or where I read it, but it's somewhere.
So it would, places it would be the Swiffer O and M plan, so we'll look for it.
Yeah. And you've got a whole thing in the SWAP on 8.4.2 on page 15 about hazardous products. And what you're gonna do with hazardous products that you're not using them.
That's just in case
that
like
just general?
a tractor trailer comes in and they blow an
Okay.
oil line or a loader blows
That's
hydraulic
basically
line.
standard stuff required by the state
Never
to be in there, so we have a plan to deal with it just in case.
I'm not sure if it was in the SWAP or somewhere else. But find it. Because it's somewhere. All right. Will the proposed action involve require the management or disposal of solid waste? And the answer is yes. During construction, the solid waste is estimated to be 0.5 tons per month. In operations, no tonnage, and the waste is going to be from packaging material and general construction debris. And you're going to use a typical roll-off dumpster for that waste. Does the proposed action include construction or modification of a solid waste management facility? It does not. Will the proposed action at the site involve the commercial generation, treatment, storage, or disposal of hazardous waste? And you've got no. Again, it's in that SWAP, so it's kind of confusing. Any questions about D? Comments? Kayla, anything?
Nope, nothing on that section.
Okay. E is site and setting of proposed action. E1 is land use on and surrounding the project. So the existing land uses are forest, agricultural, commercial. The project parcel is primarily agricultural and includes some forest and wetland areas. This is also agricultural buildings on the site. All right, agricultural buildings on the site.
Yeah, in the
I bet you're gonna
northwest
put
corner.
pianos.
No, no.
It's on the
Oh, they
northwest
just gonna,
corner of the
oh,
parcel.
all right, that's gonna just stay there.
It's just-
Several business occur near the project as well. There are no commercial properties on the site. So the land use and the cover types of the projects are all listed there and they all because they did it last time.
It gets confusing too,
I
because
know.
sometimes he looks at it, in his mind, he overlaps the wetland and the raised, and then he's trying to distinguish which part of the raised wetland with a ray in it. Yeah.
So does anybody have questions about that? So
So will that change in the impervious cover include the road now to match the change above?
Make that change to 1.14 there, yes.
right now you have it at 2.64.
Well, but the change was the 0.88,
0.88,
Oh,
yeah.
I think that, all right.
So we'll change them.
so we can update for that.
So update. That. Thank you. Good call, Kayla. Okay. Anything else on that? Is the project site presently used by members of the community for public recreation? It is not. Are there facilities serving children within 1,500 feet of the project site? There is. It is St. Lawrence Health Systems Medical Campus. Does the project site contain an existing dam? It does not. Has the project site ever been used by a municipal, commercial, or industrial solid waste management facility? Or does the project site adjoin property which is now or was at one time used as a solid waste management facility? And the answer is no. Have hazardous waste been generated, treated, and or disposed of at the site? Or does the project site adjoin property which is now or was at one time used to commercially treat, store, and or dispose of hazardous waste? And the answer is no. Potential contamination history. Has there been a reported spill at the proposed project site or any remedial actions been conducted at or adjacent to the proposed site? And the answer is no. Is the project within 2,000 feet of any site in the New York State DEC Environmental Site Remediation Database? And it is not. Is the project site subject to an institutional control limiting property uses? We didn't have to complete the, sorry. Any questions about E1? Anybody? No? Okay. E2 is natural resources on or near the project site. The average depth to bedrock on the project site is less than 6 or greater than 6 feet, excuse me. Are there bedrock outcroppings on the project site? There are not. And the predominant soil type present on the project site is listed there. And where was that resource from?
This is all from USDA soil surveys. Until like we go out and do the actual geotech and then they'll, but if they hit water, they'll.
Was that a general survey or was that specific to this area?
Well, that's online map. Go right on.
Yeah,
the NRCS
that was
website.
on the
Right.
map.
Survey.
Drill down.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Approximate proportion of proposed action sites with slope. 98% of the project is 0 to 10%, with 1%, 10 to 15, and 1%, 15% and greater. Are there any unique geologic features on the project site? There are not. Surface water features. H, does any portion of the project site contain wetlands or other water bodies? Yes, indeed it does. Do any wetlands or other water bodies adjoin the project site? Yes, it does. Are any of the wetlands or water bodies within or adjoining the project site regulated by any federal, state, or local agency? Yes, it is. For each identified regulated wetland and water body on the project site, provide the following information. So the streams, it's an unnamed federal stream, and classification is riverine. And you can see that. And the wetlands are federal waters, federal water. Wetlands about 44 acres. So it's almost half, isn't it?
Yeah.
Half of your acreage is wetland.
Yeah, it's partial.
Are there any above water bodies listed in the most recent compilation of New York State water quality impaired water bodies? It's not. Is the project in a designated floodway? It is not. Is it within a 100-year floodplain? It's not. Or 500-year floodplain? It is not. Is the project located over immediately adjoining a primary principal or sole source aquifer? And it is not. And you're going to submit a site visit by the Corps of Engineers, right?
Yeah, we'll submit the
Well, we'll do the
application and
permit.
part of that process. They would like to come out to verify.
So identify the predominant wildlife species that occupy or use the project site. And there's several listed there, and they use the EAF mapper to indicate it. But you're also going to send this to the Natural Heritage Program, right?
Well, you'll see in our response letter that they actually, their website says that you don't get a hit for any species off this mapper, because when we go on and use this mapper program, that auto fills several of the categories. If you don't get a hit from the database on this, that you don't have to submit. It's in our response letter. They actually have language on there that says they don't, because what they don't want is a bunch of submissions for areas. that
But I
have
thought
already
you
been-
said in your letter that you were going to submit it.
I think we said, and we explained why we didn't have. I thought in the
I'm
response.
gonna
letter.
pull that. I'll come back to it because I'm pretty sure. Does the project contain a designated significant natural community? It does not. Does the project contain any species of plant or animal that is listed by the federal government or New York State as endangered or threatened, or does it contain any areas identified as habitat for an endangered or threatened species? And the answer is no. Does the project site contain any species of plant or animal that is listed by New York State as rare or as a species of special concern? And you have no. Is the project site or adjoining area currently used for hunting, trapping, fishing, or shell fishing? And that says no. Any questions about E2? How do you know that it doesn't have any plant species or
So when we go into the state
that-
database,
that's not?
we go in, so this form, when you go into the state database, the EAF mapper, you
Mhm,
take the parcel that you're on, it identifies the land, and it runs it through all of their database information. So
mhm.
it checks no on those boxes. So the state has already told us that by their database, they have no known reports or occurrences of anything of concern on
Okay,
our site. And then the Natural Heritage has on their website, basically a statement that says, if you don't get a hit, if you get a hit, it won't tell you what it is because they don't want to necessarily give out all the information on where everything is. So
Okay.
basically, if you get a hit, then they want you to write a letter, send them the info.
Okay.
But if you don't get a hit, they've kind of said, if our database says it's not there, please don't send us. Because they have so many responses trying to get through and use it as a way to,
I thought I read it somewhere. I bet you were going to do that.
our response is number 13 on the letter we sent out. Correction or the guidance.
On papers, no. Okay. I know it was there. I don't remember the date.
I mean,
saw
your
it here.
comment letter from
I saw it there,
B
but
and
I
L told us to do it. I don't know if that's- You requested that we submit. But
I thought I saw it somewhere else, but I'm not sure where.
I mean, the reality is we could send them a letter, basically that their direction is, please don't bother us if you don't get hit because we have too many to review as it is. It'll take forever.
We typically still recommend it just because in the past, we've also seen times where that online mapper incorrectly lists information just because it is based on, like an online collective informational system. I believe that website does says that you can still request the information.
We can submit a plot.
Well, would you? Thank you. Okay. Yeah, any questions about E2? Any comments? E3 is designated public resources on or near the project site. Is the project site or any portion of it located in a designated agricultural district certified pursuant to ag and market law? And it is. And the district name and number is listed there. Are agricultural lands consisting of highly productive soils present? And you've got yes. 78.8 acres are highly productive soils, and half of it's wetlands.
Those are considered prime.
Right. It's all goofy. I mean, so there's all types of soil types they consider prime or significant or prime if drained is a big category. So what they basically said is if you drain the water out of them, then they could be productive farm soils.
Does the project site contain all or part of, or is it substantially contiguous to a registered national landmark? It is not. Is the project site located in or does it adjoin a state listed critical environmental area? It's not. Does the project contain or is it substantially contiguous to a building, archaeology site or district which is listed on the National or State Register of Historic Places or that has been determined by the Commissioner of the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation to be eligible for listing on the State Register of Historic Places? And the answer is yes. Is an archaeological site, the Bridge Cemetery, directly north of the project site. It's not in the project site, though, right?
It's a separate parcel.
It's listed in the Culture Resource Information System. Is the project site or any portion of it located in or adjacent to an area designated as sensitive for archaeological sites on the New York State Historic Preservation Office? archaeological site inventory? And the answer is no. But you plan on consulting the SHPO and give us the final review later. Yeah, you're gonna be doing that, right? Have additional archaeological or historic sites or resources been identified on the project site? And the answer is no. Is the project site within 5 miles of any officially designated and publicly accessible federal, state, or local scenic or aesthetic resources? And the answer is no. Is the project site located within the designated river corridor under the Wild Scenic and Recreational Rivers Program 6? Blah, blah, blah. The answer is no. Any questions about that part?
The stream, does it run all year? I don't know.
I'm not sure. I think so. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's just a drain, it's dry.
And then that goes into Tracy Brook.
Yeah.
Folks have to-
Right to the south.
southern.
Kayla, anything?
Nope.
All right, well, anything to motion for? We recommend that we move this forward, for part one.
A second.
Who gave the first?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I thought
Second
you
by
made the
John.
motion. I was gonna say.
Thank you. John, then Bill.
John, it was Bill second.
All right, all those in favor?
It's okay.
Any opposed? No. Okay. So the next thing we have to do. This is for doggy daycare.
Thank you, ma'am.
A resolution to declare us as lead agency. Can we go over that? I'll read it. The resolution declaring the intent of the town of Canton Planning Board to act as lead agency. Whereas the town of Canton Planning Board is reviewing a site plan application for the proposed US Route 11 Canton Solar Site Project located in the town of Canton, St. Lawrence County, New York. And whereas the project has been classified as a type 1 action as defined by the State Environmental Quality Review Act and that part of the law. Whereas it is the intent of the town of Canton Planning Board to assume the role of lead agency for purposes of conducting a SEQR assessment of the project. Whereas part one of a full environmental assessment form has been prepared by the applicant and reviewed by the town of Canton Planning Board and will be circulated to all involved and interested agencies for purpose of establishing the town of Canton Planning Board as lead agency in accordance with the law. Now therefore be it resolved and determined that the town of Canton Planning Board will send said part one of the full environmental assessment form and associated site plan to the attached list of interested and involved agencies under cover of a notice of intent to establish lead agency letter for purposes of establishing lead agency status under SEQR, and is further resolved that the chair of the town of planning board, together with the town attorney and BNL, are hereby authorized to take all actions, serve all notices, and complete all documents required to give full force and effect to this determination. The question of the adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly put to a vote, and upon roll call, the vote was as follows, and Jenny will add that, and we'll date it, we'll certify it, and Jenny will send it out. You saw all the agencies that it goes to. Does anyone have any concerns or?
Well, my question on the Farm Bureau is, you're sending it to like a regional secretary. Should it go to our county president?
What was that stated?
Felicia Brown is.
I'm gonna go to Bob Andrews.
No,
Then go to Bob.
not for Farm Bureau. Dan Huntley is the. Yeah, let's see the list today.
Felicia,
Yeah,
so you'd like that to be addressed to what was his name?
Dan Huntley
Dan
as our
Huntley.
St. Lawrence County Farm Bureau president, which could change every couple of years is the only problem. Felicia. I don't know. Just seems like a weird place to send it.
Secretary. Okay. Any other additions or corrections or revisions? All right. So
You guys will send this letter. Or I would send them.
Jenny will do it. Go on to Jenny.
Yeah.
Now, we have to come up with dates.
Oh, we need to, I think I need an official roll call on that resolution. Do I
Oh,
not?
we did.
You gotta do. the
You
roll
just
call.
said you have to actually
You
call it
gotta
out and
actually-
people have to say yay or nay.
Well, Bill,
Yay.
Yay.
and yay.
Perfect. Thank
Where
you.
else said yay?
Yay.
Yay. Yay, yay. All right, so here's how it's gonna go. We've got a few of these. We need to do a 30-day notice when you send this out, and then we need to have a public hearing in that 30 days.
Within the 30 days.
No, after,
Or
30 after 30 days. And we also need to come up with some dates for July. So.
July 14th is our normal.
July 14th is fine.
that's our
We're gonna
normal-
need more than one because we got a few to do.
Now we're meeting June 28th. Is that correct?
June 28th, we're gonna go over. I can't find my notes.
Another
Is it County Route 27?
Johnson Street.
We're doing Judson
Judson
Street. On 628.
Can I get that in paper also? Is that
We've
one
got
that
a whole bunch of them up there.
So,
copies.
I promise I can never get here during the day. We're open at the same time there.
Mrs. Backers.
Yeah.
Is it possible to like,
Move up the time. Yeah, it's up to you guys. Do you want to meet at
Move it up.
7 or do you want to move it up?
Okay,
Uh,
well, I'm retiring in July, so it'll be
Oh,
easier. Like
great.
today, I got home, spent my sheep, eat dinner, got here. I did take a shower because I trimmed feet all day and didn't think of really wanted to sit. That's
You're
what
hearing
gave me a little
sheep,
break.
right? I am either. So what time would be the earliest you could come on June 28th?
I'm still working, so
Do you want to keep it at 7 then?
for me, 7's better.
So we'll keep it at 7 for June 28th. And then let's look at July. So 30 days from today will be the beginning of July.
It would be the 5th. I don't know if that's 30 days. I'm not good with math, but
You're going to be out of town on the
Fourth of July.
yes. Right, which hopefully will be tomorrow, but I cannot promise anything because this is outside my morning hours.
I believe, let me,
But we can talk to Mike.
Kayla,
Yes.
wasn't BNL sending out the letters?
Oh.
That was my understanding.
I was gonna ask, I mean, we can do that, certainly. It's,
I believe that's what we discussed.
okay.
Sure.
I had recalled
Yeah,
that from
alright.
John's email. It's, we
Yeah.
can definitely do that.
That was part of, I believe there was a comment that they were gonna send them out. But you can check with John, but I think I heard that.
Yeah, that was my recollection too. We can do that.
Yes, why do you plan on doing that?
Okay.
Thank you.
Kayla, if anything changes, just let me, do you have my email? Well, you can send it to Mike and he'll let me know.
Okay.
And
All right.
I, like I said, I won't get to it in the morning. It wouldn't be till tomorrow afternoon. So.
Okay.
Yes, we do have that change. Did you get that to the list?
It changed the name to the Farm Bureau.
Yes, it should be Dan Huntley,
How do you spell his last name?
Huntley.
Okay,
I
got it.
believe. And is it the same address though, or do we need to change the address as well?
I'll get the address for you, Kayla.
Okay.
Maybe I can get it for you. I'll text you.
Let's look at July. Tell me what works for y'all.
Well, the 12th
We'll
would
need,
be our
we probably
holiday.
should have at least, ideally, we should have 3 dates in July. We're gonna do one solar project at a time. We're gonna have County Route 27 will be after Judson Street, and then hopefully Mead Road will have their stuff together. And we have to do the public meeting for 11. So what looks good? Yeah.
Why don't you go to the public meeting? Give the date for the public meeting first.
All right, go ahead. It's gotta be within 30 days, and you come back on you retire on the 14th. Are you, the 12th, Paula's having surgery, so I put them out to cataracts. Just kidding. I don't know how it's gonna affect
It's
them,
bad
you
for me
know?
because my daughter is in musical.
The 14th.
CPS. Actually,
Oh, cool.
be there.
Awesome. How about the
I could do the
13th?
12th.
How about a Wednesday? That Wednesday one?
It wrecks my yoga class, but that's minor.
I will not be available,
Alright.
but if we can record it, I can still do minutes, but it's not ideal. I just have Wednesdays committed.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thursday's the 14th, 14th, 15th.
What about,
How about the 11th?
how about 11th? 11th works.
This is a public meeting.
Yeah, we can do the public meeting,
July 11th. I can do
but we've
that.
got to get Mead Road, we've got to get the other 2 solar projects in here too.
Right.
You think we'll have?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
My daughter gets married on the Saturday, and I'm not
I'll be
sure.
getting
Oh, the
my
9th?
vacation.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, the last 2 weeks.
Yay. It's a big deal. There you go. Get rid of all that stuff. So can we meet on the 11th or not?
11th is good for me.
It's 2 days later. Tentative for
It's a Monday, the 12th was when we usually meet, but people aren't always available on the 12th.
Right.
12th is okay for me. You had something on the 12th.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
I don't know how he's gonna.
Yeah,
do it,
no,
you know
that's
what I mean?
fine. I
11th
couldn't remember
would
which.
tentatively be our public hearing.
I'm sorry?
The 11th would tentatively be our public hearing.
Yeah.
Yes. And would we be able to push up to say 6 o'clock by then, or is that too early?
Betsy's not retired until the 14th.
Providing dinner or something.
If-
So
if
no.
that- I will,
Okay.
yeah, if that works for you.
Or something, then I could come.
Yeah,
I mean,
might
I
come a
can-
little early at night.
I think if I skip out of work a little early, 2 days before I
17
retire,
hours.
they're gonna fire me.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too
Good
much
try.
about it. So do you want to meet at 5? Is that,
I work. And now you're killing me. That's how early.
how about 6 o'clock then? How about 6 o'clock? How
I
about
think
6
6 is
o'clock?
good. Is that, since you guys will be traveling, is that good for you?
I'm still working now, so I can leave the office whenever I want. Still working.
Leave an hour early.
There is that.
All right, and then, can we do,
So you want 6 o'clock on Monday, the 11th?
yeah,
Yeah.
and then let's look at the week after that. Pick a day. I'm free any day.
Not Wednesday.
No.
Not Wednesday.
Tuesday.
Want to keep it on the
Tuesday the
18th? Want to do it on the 18th?
Tuesday.
It is. It's my anniversary.
So the next
Whoa.
Tuesday.
Oh, wait a
Well,
minute.
John, you
That's
want to
the
stay away
anniversary.
from that one.
Surgery is that anniversary, you know? July 9th. Is it really?
Oh, wow,
Congratulations.
congrats.
That's
Oh, you
awesome.
made 20 years too. Huh?
She made 20.
Yeah.
That's what I say about my husband.
She
That's
moved up
it.
to
He
20.
is,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
She's the
gonna
one that
be
made it, not me.
47 for me.
Oh, I hit 22 next week.
Time, right? So will the 18th work?
Yes. What day is it?
Monday.
And you'll be retired then.
July.
How early?
At what time?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock?
Can you come earlier than 6 on Monday?
Yeah, I could just take off from work. I
What
could
time-
sell
what
bread
time?
up.
What time could you come?
I'm not selling flowers.
What time could you come?
5 o'clock?
I can do that.
No, I How do you cannot do- take off the whole day. I was too much money. I'm gonna travel. 4, so I
5
need to
o'clock.
July
Is this
18th.
being too confusing?
Is the 18th anything
I'm
with us?
lost. in that.
No.
Or is it-
Now, I'm hoping
Just
it's
the
at
11th.
5 o'clock.
That's the 11th for you guys.
That means we can be out of here by 7.
Right.
Because I have to feed the dogs.
Yeah. Do you want to look at the last week in July?
Sure.
Do you want to keep it on the Monday, 7:25 at 5 PM?
July.
Just for July, John.
At 5.
Yeah, is that what
You
for
really
you?
like I said, if I can get out early
And I mean, they'll be fine. I mean, they're not gonna starve.
Yeah, but
My
why
one
would,
little dog is
wouldn't we
chunky
really
anyway.
want them to leave? Failing the beautiful weather.
Yeah,
Why are we doing them at 5?
as
So
opposed
Mike-
to,
so Mike-
8 o'clock.
So Mike can go home.
8 a.m.
No, PM.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why are we going
No,
earlier
no,
in
no,
the,
no,
in the
no.
summer?
we wanna be done.
We just want to be done. All right, so we got our dates. 7/11 is a public meeting for at 11. We're gonna meet at 6 p.m. July 18th at 5 o'clock, and then July 25th at 5 o'clock. And I think on the 18th, it's gonna be County Route 27.
Okay. And then the 25th, Mead Road.
Hopefully.
And then the
Hopefully.
25th, hopefully.
If they
it'll be
find-
Main Road.
Okay.
What about Judson Street? Is that?
Judson
That's
Street
the
is
20th.
Is
is
the
June
28th.
20th.
Oh, that's the next one,
Next.
okay.
Yeah.
But
And
that's the
honestly,
28th.
I'm glad Bill mentioned it. I don't have any paper copies of it.
Of Mead Road.
Not of me,
That's
though. I got
Judson
tons of
Street.
these, though.
You don't have any. copies?
Judson Street.
Does Judson?
I don't have any
Okay.
paper copies.
Yeah, I've got something from me, Judson
I
Street.
think I gave you, they only sent me one copy.
Oh, then I'll be.
No, you're fine, you're fine. I got digital ones. I'll have to get them more, so that's fine. We got time.
All right.
Well,
So we have 4 meetings in next month, within the next.
Yeah, June 28th,
Mhm.
July 11th, July 18th, and July 25th.
Okay.
Okay,
July 11th. will
July
be a
11th,
public review,
public meeting.
Public
for-
hearing.
so
for these
I'll
guys.
send out notices to
Yeah.
neighboring.
And we'll get it in the paper right away.
Will you still do that here?
Or we will,
Yes, yep.
we'll do it right here.
If a lot of people come, we'll be downstairs. Okay, but we'll be here.
I sent out 124 letters. I've only heard from 6 individuals, so.
All right, any other business? Wanna talk about- I'll entertain a motion then to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Motion to go home.
second.
And thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Yes, thank you.
oh, sure, second.
Betsy seconded. All those in favor of going home?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, everyone.
So hold
Good
on.
job, guys,
The one-
getting-
I was gonna say,
getting
hold
them
on.
out of-
The ones that come are at-
6, 7, 8, 30,
That's good.
1, 2, 3.
What time is it?
8:33.
Great.
All right. Thank you, Kayla.
Hey, yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Hopefully next time we'll be in person.
I'd like to
Sounds
see you in person, but it
Yeah.
was fine.
Yes,
Then it's
yeah.
working out all
I think
right.
you were
Yep.
supposed to do this.
Yeah, we'll be in touch with upcoming reviews.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, bye.